Learning about hardware can be a bit tricky. If you're new to hardware and you want to learn, you may feel daunted by the information, and not because it's actually complicated, but because even the most basic run-throughs of hardware can end up covering things that you don't really need to know about. Why should I know what a battery in a motherboard is called or what it does? Is it actually important for me to know what everything in the BIOS is? And this series is mostly here to try to help those who are just beginning. This episode in particular is made to show you that computer components can actually be a lot of fun. Today we're going to be talking about computer components, specifically graphics cards. As always, we first need to figure out what a graphics card is. A graphics card is a type of display adapter or video card installed within most computing devices to display graphical data with high clarity, color, definition, and overall appearance. A graphics card provides high-quality visual display by processing and executing graphical data using advanced graphical techniques, features, and functions. A graphics card is also known as a graphics adapter, graphics controller, graphics accelerator card, or a graphics board. Basically, a graphics card allows you to run your games, sorting information from the RAM or processor, and displaying the information on your TV or monitor. So, what is the importance of a graphics card? Well, if we go back to the human body analogy again, the graphics card would be the muscle. You don't necessarily need much of it at all, but it definitely benefits you if you have it. Some people don't care much for it. Others have themselves a nice, healthy balance, and others go a little overboard. But the more powerful your graphics card, the more you can change the very games you play to look practically brand new. And the coolest thing about the graphics card is they're one of the easiest components to upgrade that change so much about your system. Gaming on a GTX 610 is nice, but upgrading to a 1070 is as easy as taking out the old card and popping the new one in. It's also a very good idea to delete all your graphics drivers and install the new one specifically for that new card after installing it. If you're having some issues with your new card and can't seem to figure out why, 9 times out of 10, you just need to delete your old drivers and install the new ones. Now, I want to blow your guys' minds a bit. When you look at these graphics cards, you may think, man, that's quite a hefty component there. I mean, it takes a lot of power to do what it does, but still, look how big it is. Well, believe it or not, most of the graphics card that you're looking at there is a cooler. A cooler for what, you may ask? This. Now, of course, there are other components squashed into a graphics card like video memory, and we'll get to that a bit later. So what is this thing? This is your graphics processor. This little chip is the thing that does all the work. Again, as I said before, it's not the only thing, and there is a lot more in that card that helps, but just like the processor in a motherboard, this little guy carries the load. As new graphics cards come out, this is the thing that gets smaller, more efficient, and more powerful. Now, I mentioned VRAM. VRAM refers to video memory. The more video memory you have, the faster your computer will be at handling more complex visuals. Most video memory is labeled GDDR5, and for the most part, this RAM is pretty much the same speed. But as time goes on, newer renditions of GDDR5 is implemented into newer graphics cards, which again, the faster the RAM, the more powerful your muscles are. Okay, so do I need a graphics card? Honestly, it depends on what you're doing, but even if you're just playing video games, your processor can run a lot of those games on its own. You've probably heard the term integrated graphics before. The only issue is the processor in your motherboard works a lot differently than the one in your graphics card. It's not as efficient when solving geometry equations, and it also is made up of less cores, whereas a graphics processor is made up of hundreds of subcores that are all designed to work through geometry quite quickly. Nevertheless, if you don't want to spend that much on a gaming PC, and you're only going to be playing League of Legends style games, you probably won't need that extra muscle. The last thing I'm going to cover is what's known as a bottleneck or a choke point. You may have heard of this one before. So what is a bottleneck? Well, let's say you buy yourself a home computer from the store. You use it for about 10 years, and one day you decide you want a gaming machine. So you stick the newest, most powerful graphics card into that PC. What happens? Well, your games may indeed start to run, or run better than they did before, but you won't get the power that that particular card should be granting. See, a graphics card is a powerful component, but it needs help from other areas of the computer. Typically the CPU, RAM, and sometimes the hard drive. If you have slow hard drives, they can only spin so fast, only reading so much data. This can technically be a bottleneck. If the RAM you have is too slow or even not enough RAM, the graphics card will have to sit around and wait for information to run through the RAM to get to it. Same with the CPU. And you don't have to have the top-of-the-line CPU, RAM, storage devices, and graphics cards to not experience a bottleneck, but it would be wise to ensure your components will work well together. Google and YouTube can definitely help you out there, as there's almost never been a time when I'm looking up hardware combinations and I can't find one. There are thousands of components and billions of ways they can be put together, but there's always someone out there who benchmarked at least the CPU, RAM, and graphics card together. Barry, you never talked about AMD. What gives? Well, these videos are quite a process. I got a lot of research to do, and sometimes talking about specific companies just doesn't fit the intel. Barry, that was a horrible pun. It has nothing to do with graphics cards at all. Shh.